Great, all right. It is Thursday, April 12th, 2018. Thursday, and this is the Board of Selectmen's meeting. First up tonight, we're going to have a public hearing on a petition of National Grid and Verizon New England, Inc. to install one jointly owned pole on Harvard Road beginning at a point approximately 3,000 feet northeast of the center line of the intersection of Main Street and continuing approximately 0 feet in the northeast direction. National Grid to install one 35C2 stub pole and one anchor across the road from pole 29. Declare the hearing open. Okay.
We have Autumn here from National Grid.
Come on down.
I'm Quebec from National Grid. Do you want me to?
Sure, that'd be fine. Sure.
Stand or?
Yeah. No, you can sit, please.
All right.
We only make people we don't understand. Mark, how are you?
Good, how are you guys doing
Good,
today?
thank you.
All right, so.
Why don't you tell us about this?
Yep. We need one new pole across from pole 29.
Mm-hmm.
This is in order to counter the tension.
Mm-hmm.
We're putting in 3 poles on private property, 3 or 4 poles on private property, and we're gonna have primary going in, which is a higher tension wire. So we need a pole across the street to counter that tension, so that way it doesn't fall.
Okay.
Mark, is this that driveway that's going dug back into the hill?
Yes.
So it's a brand new lot.
Okay. So you're okay with everything?
Well, when we do poll hearings, the first thing I look at is, if it's going to impact vehicular traffic, if it's going to impact snow removal, it's going to impact the trees itself. And then you sort of think about, well, is it going to impact some of our scenic roads and such? Well, this Harvard Road is not a scenic road. We dealt with this exact situation just a few years ago with an adjacent lot next door. And it was a little bit of a dog and pony show with the realtor and everybody
I remember.
on our heartstrings.
Yeah, I remember.
We're back in the same exact situation. But we're not waiting, or the moving van's not waiting in the driveway for the people to move in. So in that section of road, rough measurements, 377 feet, there's 5 telephone poles. So this proposed one will be the 6th telephone pole in 377 feet, just because they subdivided a lot, put a service in for that, subdivided another portion of that lot, put another pole in for that. So, we're back in the point where we're, polluting some of our roads with tons of poles. And I understand there's a complete need for it because the pole line will be pulled out of plumb. Once again, it's easy for National Grid to come and talk to us first because they don't have to go through all the easement issues or getting a private easement. So once again, I'd like to propose that we think about a push pole because that would be not a pole directly across the street. It would be on the new driveway. Or the other option is on the opposite side of the road. The easement is very wide there. It's about 18 feet to the edge of pavement. If we could bury that stub pole back quite a ways, I realize they still need enough room for the sidewalk anchor, but the pole location was not staked, and I looked pretty hard to see if there was any evidence of it being staked. It's pretty simple. It's directly across from pole 29, but within a few feet makes a big difference. So, like I said, I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention that once again, we're dealing with a whole bunch of poles in a real small area.
Yeah.
And, a push pole could be a good solution, or at the very least, get that guide pole back as far as we can, because, like I said, we have a fair amount of space on the other side of the road.
So if you're planning ahead, can you bring one line over that feeds like 3 houses or 5 houses?
Well, when they serviced what was House 125, I believe, they went off the existing pole. And that existing pole was going to be pulled out of line. If you go underground, which is an additional expense, then it's not putting a strain on the pole, it's running up the side of the pole. You know, in that situation there, that cut looks extremely shaly ledge. Underground, years ago, underground cost was about $100 a foot, where the aerial was a fair amount cheaper. Now, $100 a foot, not including the excavation. So, you know, I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention that we're dealing with a lot of poles in a small area.
Yeah.
I mean, they're talking like less than 80 feet apart. So it's a quadrant of 4 poles, 38 feet across from each other, and 79 feet. It's a little box.
You would think the homeowners themselves would be unhappy about that.
Yeah, well, the last stub pole that was put in was right in the edge of, it's on the town taking, but this gentleman maintained that as lawn area, so it's tucked in the bushes a little bit, but it's on the corner of
This
what he's
this is the
doing.
one a few years ago.
Yes, exactly. And it's 80 feet away.
All right.
So, just wanted to bring that up. I obviously see that there is a need to support that pole line, and everybody should have electricity, but,
Have you discussed this with National Grid?
no, this is
the first time?
this is the first time,
Okay.
and that's kind of what the public hearings are
Okay.
sort of about,
All
so.
right. All right.
Not to put up, drag on them through the coals there.
I completely understand, and we
Yeah.
always do look at trying to limit the number of poles, because we don't like to see them very close together either.
Yeah.
It doesn't, our trucks can't get in there as easily if there's a lot of poles. More poles means that there's more equipment that we have to maintain, that can fall down, that any storms, anything like that. That's all stuff that we have to consider when we go into it, especially when we're looking to put new things up. As far as the push brace, that was something I looked at, right at that pole. The homeowner was looking to level some of that land and have some of it as like a retention pool. So we can't really have the pole go right into that water. So that's one of the reasons why we said, let's do a push, stub pole across the street with the anchor. As far as setting it back, we can set it, 10 feet off the road, just as long as the trucks can get in there and we have room to do that. As far as the stake, those get pulled out all the time on us, especially with the recent snow we've had. We've had to restake things a lot this
So with
past
10 feet off, 10 feet back be...
Yeah, like they need ample space to get that guy wire in as well, but, comes off the road, it's a berm up on top of the berm, which is probably 8 feet off the road. So if you get it back up on that berm and it's kind of buried, it's out of sight line, but, these poles where you have to keep dodging around them when you're meeting oncoming
Yeah,
traffic,
yeah,
because they're right across from each other is, so
Yeah,
I think
okay.
there's obviously they looked into the push pole scenario, so
Mhm.
I don't really have a problem as long as they get that pole back pretty far.
Okay. Well, I mean, if that works for you, that certainly would work for me. It sounds like the other option really isn't an option.
Well, it just doesn't make sense if they're gonna be, I don't know what their finished grade's gonna be at and everything, but it's literally probably a difference in elevation of 6 or 8 feet. So
Yeah.
they'd have to make an 8 or 9 foot cut to even have water
Yeah.
to, that shaly ledge, so.
Do you know if there's a plan for that?
I don't think it would be because is that just it's not a common driveway.
No, it isn't.
Yeah. So it would just be on the driveway permit, and that's all they're looking at is at the street where the cut is. But,
All right, so perhaps we should have something revised done and then have you come back?
I mean, I can go out there and stake it if you want to take a look at where
Yeah.
we're gonna put it in, or,
I think, why don't we go ahead and have them stake it,
Mm-hmm.
and you folks vote on it tonight with, as long as we approve this pole location.
Okay.
So, if that works for you.
Yeah, that works, and then you don't have to come back, we can just, well, we'd have to continue it.
Continue it.
But it would have to continue the hearing, yes.
Yeah, well, all right, okay, but,
But you don't want to close the hearing
No,
without
no,
having seen how it's staked.
all right, and so what we'll do is we'll continue the hearing. When can you get it staked?
so when you say continuing hearing, do we have to wait until the next meeting? Or, because I can go out there beginning of next week and get it staked.
Well, what we'll do is we'll continue the hearing, and continue with the contingency that, you know, as long as when we go out, we'll set up a time to go out, take a look at it, the staking looks okay, then we'll come back again next time and just open the hearing, approve it, and close it. You don't have to come.
So that would be the 26th.
Okay, I can get out there early next
Okay.
week, Monday, Tuesday.
Sounds good.
I'll stake it. I'll stake both the pole and the anchor.
And you can see just about 20 feet down gradient from that is a granite marker, which is the corner, the edge of that easement.
So is the road taking about 40 feet there, do you know? Or-
No, but there's about, roughly off that point to the edge of pavement's about 18 feet.
Okay.
Okay.
So you just need a motion to continue the hearing to April 26th.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing till April 26th.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, just let Don know when it's staked and then,
Yeah, I'll be out there Monday or Tuesday next week.
okay. And then Don will let us know and then we can each take a look, see.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up on our agenda is a request for approval to hold a 5K race at Chartner Farm on Saturday, October 6, 2018.
Kristen,
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Good to see you guys. So yes, we would like to do the 5K again. Chartner Farm, Columbus Day weekend, Saturday. I think we're starting, we were gonna try to start at 9 this time. The route will be the same, the road closures. Chief Nelson met with Mark, and it seems like Wattaquatic, if I'm right, will be closed until all the runners turn onto Sawyer. And once the last walker is onto Sawyer, we'll open Wattaquatic. And Sawyer will be heavily coned up all the way to the finish, correct?
Yep,
Okay,
one-way traffic
yeah,
into the event, and anything that wants to get out can either go to Berlin or go up West Berlin.
okay.
Okay.
What's this a benefit for?
It's gonna be for the pavilion
Oh, great.
at the Common, so if we get those matching funds for that grant that we have, so that it would go towards meeting the matching funds to build the pavilion first. We also have an auction coming up at the winery, so if we are somehow miraculously able to raise the money at that, then it would go towards programming for the trust that we are gonna keep doing at the Common.
5 PM Sunday, June 3rd at the winery.
Good answer, yes, exactly. Perfect,
Great.
Okay.
yeah,
Sounds good.
sound good?
Okay.
That's it.
Um,
And we'll have the same, like,
Yep.
safety, like the ambulance, I know we've done before, gotten the extra ambulance. I assume Marty wants the same, I think I've talked to her, so,
Good, and I'm looking at 3 or 4 detail officers to.
Okay. okay.
Just need a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 5K at Chartner Farm on Sunday, October 6th.
Saturday.
Is it
Oh,
Saturday?
Saturday,
Sorry,
sorry. I meant
Yep, no,
Saturday.
that's right, Saturday.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Next up is a request for approval to hold a 5K on October 28, 2018, Bolton Volunteer Fire Association.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. I'm Jen Hoyt. I'm the president of the Bolton Volunteer Fire Association. When we had originally proposed it, the date was October 28th, but that has been since changed. Following a meeting with the winery and a conflict with one of the events that they have on that day. So we're changing the date to November 17th.
Okay.
So just a little bit about the Bolton Volunteer Fire Association. We're a 501c3 organization made up of members of the fire department, and our mission is to support those firefighters. So the event that we're holding in November, we're hoping to raise money to help fund some cancer-reducing hoods, in addition to the ones that the town issues us, which meet minimum standards, but these ones are a little bit better, cost a bit more money, so we're hoping to raise money in that effort.
Okay.
So the plan for the race, this would be our inaugural year, so a little bit more detailed than the last one. But the race is planned to start at 9 o'clock. It would start at the Bolton Fire Department and go up Wattaquatic Hill Road, turn onto Old Bay Road, turn back onto Randall Road, down Farm, down South Bolton, onto Berlin, and finish either at Memorial Field, depending on whether or not we can secure a permit, or back at the fire department. So if you want to take a visual of that, I'm sure everybody is familiar with the town. But this is kind of the first step in the approval
Okay.
process for us as an inaugural race to kind of set everything else up and get all the permits in
Mhm.
order and to kind of lock in the race company. So we spoke with the chief preliminarily. We're hoping to put the race on a Saturday so that it doesn't interfere with
Mhm.
church services right there. And also, I met with the winery, and that's why we moved the date, because it wasn't going to work in October. And with all the traffic in town, it seemed like it would be better to have it the weekend before Thanksgiving. So,
Okay.
I guess if you have any questions.
Chief, I'm assuming, you know, pending whatever else.
Yeah, so I've only had a brief conversation with Jen on this. I do have some concerns because the route is a difficult route. There's a lot of houses, so they're gonna have to notify everybody. But the routes, South Bolton Road, Berlin Road, there's nowhere I can send people. So right now, you know, the board's gotta realize that if we shut down that whole circle, you may get some more complaints because I just have nowhere to put the people. If somebody comes out of Hudson or Berlin, off of any of those roads, they're just gonna come right up to the end of the road, there's gonna be a barricade, and they're gonna have to turn around.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of concern I have. I'm not opposed to the race at all. It just, the board needs to realize that this isn't the greatest route, but because they want the fire department as a location in Memorial Field,
Right.
that's pretty much the only spot you're gonna be able to do a 5K.
Right.
Yeah, it is a difficult route, and that's something that we looked at. And it is those turnaround points at Randall, Berlin, and South Bolton Road that would be difficult, and we would have to turn them around a little bit earlier, and the detour route is very large.
We're gonna need a lot of barricades. I'm looking at 6 to 7 detail officers just to kind of keep control at the intersections, at the least.
So it's something that, we still do want to pursue. I'm not opposed to moving the route, but it would be worse to shut down 117, which is what I think, and so having to go back around the library and around Old Bay that way seems like that would be more of an imposition. With it being on a Saturday morning in November, we're hoping that that kind of time frame was a little bit better. We would have it open to runners and walkers. We are limiting it to a 5K, so we're hoping to have everything done within an hour with the last walker done. So that is definitely some details that we still need to work out with the police chief on how we're gonna do that.
Would part of the planning for this to be posting signs that say those roads will be closed on such and such a day from such and such a time, so people aren't surprised?
Yes, I would want to do that anyways, because I think a lot of people are impacted by some of this. So that would definitely be something that we would do, and we would, I don't know that there are any other events going on in that time frame, but utilize the town DPW flashing banner thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
A portable sign.
Portable sign, it's better than flashing banner. Portable sign. Yeah, that certainly is something that we want to do, and we would absolutely notify residents and, offer them a discount if they wanted to run the race, which would be great.
Okay. All right, so maybe someone should make a motion to sort of tentatively approve this pending getting final input from the chief that he's satisfied with everything. I guess we have some time since it's November.
It is. Trying to do it a little early.
I will move to approve the 5K on November 17th for the Bolton Volunteer Fire Department, Fire Association, pending approval by the Chief of Police.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Jane, can I do this next, please?
You can have this one.
Oh,
Or did you want?
No.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a nice night. Thank you for coming in. Next up is a request for approval of the annual Bicycles Battling Cancer Ride on Sunday, June 10th, 2018.
A lot of events coming through. Maybe just tonight, I don't know.
Well, maybe this will cause people to take a different route to work. That's always good.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity to come here tonight. My name is Mark Walter. I'm working with the American Cancer Society on this being the 10th annual Bicycles Battling Cancer charity ride. As was indicated in the communication that was sent down, we're looking once again to have riders come through Bolton. The event features 4 different ride distances. 3 of them come through Bolton, but they're all together, so it's not different routes, and they are the same, it's the same route as last year.
Okay.
So at the early part of the event, riders will come up Lancaster, go left on Wattaquatic Hill Road and head up into Clinton. And then on the return, they come along Bolton Road to Harvard Road, and then cross 117 and make their way out towards East Bolton Road.
Okay.
And I have been in touch with the police chief who has approved. We do have 2 police details that are requested for the event. Last year we had those same police details requested. They were not filled. So they just had officers that were on duty take the detail positions, but there was it was if they had to get pulled away for something, we didn't quote unquote own them for that time. So that's always a little concerning, to hear that the details weren't filled. But this is not a race. We do tell all of the cyclists that you have to obey the rules of the road. And, whereas we will have police out there, we don't have them at every single turn. So they still need to, ride smart and safely.
Okay. Assume you're okay with all this?
Okay is, and again, yes, if there's no police officer at that intersection, 117, they gotta stop and then cross.
Okay, right. Well, hopefully between now and June, we'll be able to secure those folks.
And does it help, Chief, to put those in any earlier? I mean, we obviously know now, I guess you don't...
Maybe about 2 weeks
Okay.
before would be about the best time.
Okay.
And then people can start planning that.
Okay, I'll be sure to do that.
Okay. Great, well then I'll take a motion to approve.
I move we approve the annual Bicycles Battling Cancer Ride on Sunday, June 10th, 2018.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, next up on our agenda is a recommendation from Police Chief Nelson to appoint Hector Martinez Riviera to the position of Reserve Patrol Officer with the Bolton Police
All
Department.
right, well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
This is Hector.
Hector Stanwysocki, pleasure.
Hector, nice to meet you.
Good evening.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for having us tonight.
You're welcome.
Hector applied many months ago, and we didn't get as many applicants as the last time. There was 25, 30 applications, and Hector came right to the top after all the interviews. After the written test, he by far did the best of all the candidates, and we put him forward to the background check, which passed with flying colors. I saw phenomenal, I can't pronounce it right, maturity, very well recommended by his employers, references, everyone. Background came back solid, and brought him here tonight. He was born and raised in Fitchburg, went to Fitchburg State, got his bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He's a Fitchburg State campus police officer, and he's also gone through the Reserve Intermittent Academy, so that way he can come right to work for us once he's appointed. So he's been a busy person. I think he just turned 21. He looks young, but he's ready to go, and he's here for any questions.
Super. Why Bolton?
Bolton. I went to school actually in South Lancaster Academy, and I'm relatively familiar with the area because I played baseball in Maynard, played baseball in Bolton, so I was sort of familiar with the area, and also in the department standpoint, I wanted to join a department that had an awesome reputation and somewhere where I believe I can learn a lot more on the municipal side.
Wow, awesome reputation.
Oh, that's,
there you go.
He knows, yeah. You got the job, right?
yeah, what do you think he does? You guys are
You
good.
can stop greasing the skid. No, thank you, welcome. We certainly appreciate it, and we definitely need more reserve officers, so, so certainly welcome. So we're gonna get started right away?
As soon as you give the blessing, we'll get him right to work.
All right. Well, I don't have any other questions other than thank you, and I'll take a motion to approve the recommendation from the chief.
I move that we appoint Hector Martinez Rivera to the position of Reserve Patrol Officer with the Bolton Police Department.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Welcome on board. Pleasure, pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is a hopefully brief discussion to discuss the future structure of the fire chief position. I probably think it might be appropriate, I know that John Menser is retiring at the end of this fiscal year, and we're going to need to do something or start looking, beginning July 1st, and I should start that a little bit sooner, but we do have a couple of items in the proposed FY19 budget for the police department, so I'm thinking maybe it just might... Fire department. Might be appropriate to wait until we have town meeting to get all that squared away, the budget's approved and all that good stuff before we...
I guess my thinking, well, I would prefer to have a part-time interim chief until we draw a full job proposal together for a permanent chief. And I don't think moving ahead with that search would affect the budget. So that's what I...
Right, we'll certainly need somebody interim. I think we
Right.
need somebody interim until we finalize exactly what we're
Right,
doing.
but I don't think that as a board, we've agreed to pursue an interim, or how long an interim we would target for an interim. And so I'm sitting here and throwing this out as part of developing a consensus with a motion that this will be the first step. Let's get an interim, so on and so forth.
So I missed that. When is Chief Metzner stepping down?
June 30th to be his last day at the end of the fiscal year. So the goal really, to Bob's point, the goal really should be July 1st. The board has selected an interim, appointed an interim chief.
Preferably someone who could start on that day or after. So you may do your appointment. You certainly don't want to do your appointment till after
Correct.
town meeting.
We should have someone in place in July 1st. July 1st,
Right,
as close to it as
absolutely.
possible. yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
And, just backing up the timeline, it doesn't seem too early to start that process now.
So the items coming up at town meeting are the strong chief vote, and then there's also votes about what type of equipment, just the...
Well, the wage line,
It's actually the wage line.
Okay.
That's.
we don't know what we're going to have for wage.
Well,
I mean, but we will have sufficient, no matter what, we'll have sufficient money to fund a stipended position for, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm assuming that the interim chief will be a stipended position for some period of time, or an assumption of some period of time, maybe even broken down into, again, just for a figure, if we were talking about, I don't know, let's just say $500 a month, then you could break it down into units, so many months until
Right.
the permanent
Right.
chief is hired.
right. But the other tangential issues to this are the strong chief, the weak chief, strong chief, weak chief motion, which I don't think has any effect on the interim. I mean, it will.
No.
But it shouldn't.
No.
That's critical that be clear before we put together a job description for a permanent chief. But I don't see that as a roadblock to developing a job profile for the interim. And the other article that pertains to the fire department is the
The SCBA.
the air apparatus, right.
But what I'm referring to is neither of those.
Right, you're referring to the wage line.
The wage line.
The wage line.
Right.
And as we discussed, the way the wage line is set up, we've got money set in there for the chief, but There's also a wage line in there, I think there's $5,000 in there for,
5,500, I believe.
I can't remember what the line was called. It was,
I forget if it was just said stipend or what, but I mean,
yeah,
I forget the wording, but I believe that's in there. So, and if it's not, we still cover it under the wage line anyway.
right.
So, there really are two pieces. Defining what you want out of the interim chief's position, and assuming you want it effective July 1st, you know, you want a person in place
Right.
on July 1st, you know, defining the process for that, and then longer term, the permanent chief, what criteria you want in there. I mean, we actually do have a draft, it's more than a draft, we have a job description that's been written. I mean, obviously it can be tweaked by the board to suit what you want, but we've basically got one in place. And to your point, strong chief or not, it doesn't impact the advertising for an interim chief.
Not at all.
And in fact, you know, that's going to be decided in a couple of weeks, one way or another.
Right.
So even before the interim chief is appointed, everyone will know whether or not it's still a strong chief or not.
Right.
So that won't be a gate to anything. It's more of, you know, what are we gonna have for wages to work with? But the first step is the interim chief, which we're gonna need no matter what.
Right.
So we have wages and a stipend for the
I believe we do. I don't
chief?
believe the stipend was removed because knowing that there would be some gap, I believe the current stipend line for, I think $5,500, which is what Chief Menzer gets, is still in there. But even if it isn't, if it was zeroed out and I just don't remember it, we still got proposed $70,000 in the wage line. And a full, you know, if we had a full-time chief for an entire year, the range is 75 to 90, and we assume 75 to start the new chief. So again, you know, we've got more than sufficient money to cover that.
And so have we discussed part-time and full-time,
Well,
going forward?
The board is not. I mean, my working hypothesis has been that it would be a full-time working chief who would also be a certified EMT, so they could go on ambulance calls as well. But the board has not ratified that. That's just been my recommendation.
Right, because I think you had said most of the surrounding towns have a full-time fire
They do.
chief now. We're sort of the odd duck here, so I mean, that's one of the things we can discuss, but I think in terms of that criteria, we haven't discussed that, but obviously we will need an interim for some number of months before we get everything else finalized. So I mean, if you want to start putting together some thoughts in terms of how you might, suggestions on how to go about doing that, because there might be some internal candidates who might want to open it up outside, et cetera, et cetera.
I think I think the board will want to advertise for the interim. Internal candidates certainly should be welcome to apply as well as external, if that's what you want to do. And then judge the pool accordingly, and then act from there. But the goal really, Bob's right, you do want somebody in place as the interim July 1st.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So should I just make a motion authorizing Don to create a job description for the interim chief?
Sure, fine.
Okay, so moved.
That's it.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'll work very closely with Chief Menzer on that. I mean, I certainly won't do it in a vacuum.
Yeah,
I need Chief Menzer for that.
yeah. Okay, sounds good. All right, next up is your administrative report.
All right. First of all, the update on Minuteman. I was not able to make the topping off event today, which was very disappointing to me. Because one of the things that they do is that everyone on the building committee actually signs a beam, as part of the building and all that, and just to be able to see how it's developed, and it's been a long time coming, so it was a very nice ceremony, as I understand. Anyway, just a few talking points on where the project stands. Currently, we're on time to complete late spring 2019, which ensures a smooth opening for the fall of 2019. We're still on budget. The guaranteed maximum price will be finalized and sent to the MSBA on June 18th, so we're pretty close to that. We're very optimistic that many add alternates related to the educational purpose of the building will be included. I think I referenced that at the last meeting. The foundations are completed. Steel installation is nearing completion. Floors and masonry begin this Friday. All permits have been issued by Lincoln. Still sorting out some of the charges. However, their fee schedule is in line with what they charge for private homes. And it should be noted that the building committee, the administration, and the building team of Skanska, Castle Booze, and Gilbane are all working well together. So the team with all the various components of it does work extremely well together. So right now, the building project is I'm highly encouraged by it. You know, I've never worked on a building project this large. I have worked on other building projects and was the chair of the building committee when Clinton High School was built. But, you know, this is moving really smoothly right now, knock on wood.
Okay.
Don't want to jinx it. And then the update on the Town Hall Portico project. The DPW director and I met with our architect this week. We have received sign-off from the Bolton Historical Commission, Mass Historical Commission, and the Design Review Board. And we're ready to go out to bid.
Excellent.
So we're putting together the advertising now. We hope to have the ad in the paper 2 weeks from yesterday, so that'll be the 25th. And it'll be in the Central Register, of course. It'll be in all the appropriate places. And we're going to be open for bids for 5 weeks. We've already scheduled a mandatory pre-bid conference here, which will include obviously a site review out there. And we are remaining very confident that we can get this done for early November, and we believe we can come in under budget. So, and there's, I know one thing that many people were concerned about, as was I, was this is going to be, we're able to do more of a focus on repair than replace. We're going to be able to preserve much of the columns out there rather than have to replace the columns. The main area where we'll be replacing is we've got a lot of rot up high, so we're going to have to do some new work up there, and obviously the concrete slab is being removed. But I think we did, I think everything I'm seeing so far, and I think Joe would agree, we hired a really good architect, and the architect's doing a good job, and
So
I think...
all that rot that needs to be replaced is going to be protected from the weather when this is done anyway, right?
Yes.
So you won't even see that.
Right,
Okay.
that's right. So I think everyone's going to be very pleased with this when we're done.
Good, excellent.
And also, just to follow up on something that the board has mentioned in the past, plans will be available electronically, actually only electronic. We're going to do a couple of sets of plans just to have on hand, but we're working out whether it's going to be an FTP process or in a Dropbox. But what we are doing is creating an email account where any prospective bidders will submit an email to us, which will have all their contact information. If it's incomplete, we won't be sending anything out because we need to track who's got what. But we'll be giving them access to a link somewhere, and they can just transfer the files over, have links over. So we're gonna streamline all that.
Good.
Great.
Okay.
And that's all I have tonight, unless there's any questions from the board.
No, I'm good. All right, next up is the Board of Selectmen business. I've asked to keep a sort of permanent public service announcements, and just to remind everybody, 2 items again. 1, bottles and cans for the Boy Scouts. I've actually talked with our DPW director, and I have a call in to Representative Boy Scouts. There's a small red building at the crest of the hill coming into the transfer station where you can drop off your deposit bottles and cans. A lot of people are bringing those, they're kind of bypassing that, and they're putting them into the recycle bins. So I've talked with DPW director, he has no problem with it. We may be adding an additional receptacle in between the aluminum and plastic and the glass, so people have a second chance to drop off stuff. And as spring is coming, please rinse off your bottles and cans, because lots of bees come by. And I was there last week and saw a spaghetti jar half full of spaghetti, so if you could just rinse it out, that would be great. It gets a little ripe. It's fine now, but in August it gets a little ripe.
That's not you know, Boy Scouts can't do anything with that.
No, I'm not, that's the second one. No,
Yeah,
no,
okay.
no, that's not doing anything with spaghetti weapons. So that's all I got for that right now, so.
May I add one thing? I
Sure.
just forgot, I don't usually remember to do this, but tomorrow, 8:30 to 9:30 at the Bolton Bean, once again, I'm doing the coffee with the town administrator. Sometimes I have coffee with myself, sometimes I have visitors. Last month I had 7 visitors, the month before I had 6, so we're ramping up, but I'm always happy to meet people from town and answer any questions that you may have. So again, 8:30 to 9:30 at the Bolton Bean.
That is the pinnacle of the week, Friday, with you at the Bolton Bean.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's the pinnacle, but it could be the nadir, but it's something.
It's something, that's right, it's definitely something. All right, next up is a recommendation from the Agricultural Commission to appoint Connor Nagel to the commission.
And Connor is here. If you want to
Okay.
come forward and say hi.
Hello. I don't have much more to add than that.
So what drove you to want to participate in the Agricultural Commission?
I've been involved with town boards before when I lived in Acton. We live on Green Road now, the old farmhouse at the bottom of the hill, just before Vaughan Conservation Land. So we've a small farm going there. I like the agricultural vibe of Bolton and want to see it maintained. I'd like to advocate for it and
Good.
outreach.
Super, well, welcome. We always like some fresh blood.
How many kids did you have?
This year,
Yeah.
4.
4 kids.
Yeah.
Meaning goats?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is a goat farmer. Great.
Okay, well, I'll take a motion to appoint Connor Nagel to the Agricultural Commission.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi. Welcome.
Okay, welcome. Next up is a recommendation from the Human Services and Safety Committee to appoint Cindy Pilastri and Marie Fusaro to the committee. And I don't think we have anyone here.
No, they weren't coming tonight.
What does this committee do?
This is the committee, yes, currently chaired by Laura Roberts, formerly by Pat Van Settler, that provides, programs such as the most recent one, that they provide awareness on abuse programs, that type of thing. I remember last year there was I believe a date rape program, that type of thing. So they provide some very worthwhile programs to the town and support.
Great.
Okay. I'm assuming we've advertised and all that good stuff.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then I'll take a motion to recommend both Cindy Pilastri and Marie Fusaro to the committee.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, next up is a recommendation to support the purposes and goals of the Nashua, Squannahook, and Nissitissit Rivers Stewardship Plan. I practiced, you know. And to endorse the recommendation to seek the designation as a partnership wild and scenic rivers. When we have something on the
Yes,
warrant.
we'll do something
Yeah.
on the warrant for that as well.
Yeah, these folks came in a while ago to talk about that, and there's a small chunk of one of the rivers that's in Bolton. Basically,
Done at the floods.
yeah. So I think this is a good thing. It's not gonna cost the town anything, and you know, they may actually be able to get some money to do some things along the river, so.
And you've already endorsed the article?
Right. So we have do I need to read this? Should I, it's basically to the National River Wild and Scenic River Study Committee, basically telling them that we're gonna be writing on behalf of the Conservation Commission to indicate its support for the purposes and goals of the Nashua, Squannahook, and Nissitissit River Stewardship Plan, and to endorse its recommendations to seek a designation as a partnership wild and scenic rivers. This position was taken by formal vote of the board at their meeting on Thursday, April 12th, 2018. Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And next up is to approve the bills and the payroll warrants for
Which are here.
W1820 and W1820A and W1821 and W1821A. Okay, do I have a motion to approve those?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Aye. And do we have any minutes?
We do. We have 3 sets of minutes for January 18, regular session, executive session, and law committee.
Okay. There you go. Everybody fine with the minutes? Take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 You sign this copy?
Yes.
Okay.
Just initial it.
You can
Initial.
signature.
Okay.
Whatever.
Did you just say whatever?
Yeah. Whatever you would like to.
Very fresh. Sound like my teenager.
Usually when I say that, then Dawn says, fine.
I do. Capital F.
Linda, it looks like we have
Zero.
2 sets of signatures for 21A, but only 1 for 21.
No, there should be 2 there. I think there's 2 there. Is there?
We only have 3 total, should there be 4?
Yeah, there's a set of 2, and then there were 2 separate ones. Are you just like,
No, there were 4 over there in that group. There's 4 signatures.
there's 4 here?
Right,
Yep,
there's
and
only-
2 there.
There are 3 here.
Oh, okay, then I would sign
All right,
3.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know why there's 3 in that one.
Might be a dupe. All right, yes, that's
Then you
nice.
have the letter.
Yep.
Minutes?
There we go. All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
Just 2, right?
Nope.
I don't know why she's got 3 in there.
All right, then,
2
next
is
up
fine, that's what you've always done.
is an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining to the DPW union. As the chair finds that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the board's bargaining position, the board will not reconvene into open session. Is there also one for the police union? Yes. Well, that's one issue. And also, we will have an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining for the police union. As the chair finds that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the board's bargaining position, the board will not reconvene to open session. I have a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Linda, roll call.
Aye.
Keith
Aye.
Kosaki.
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Cleveland, it's been a pleasure.
Have a good night. Good luck.